Today we're going to work on a collage in our journals and really connect to our curiosity. So I have some collage elements I printed. I just pulled these from Pinterest and Unsplash. And then on the left page of our journals, I'm going to write things that I love in life, and then things I'm curious about in life. And I find this prompt to be really helpful when we're either feeling kind of stuck in our art practice, a little disconnected to self, where you really need to reconnect to things that are inspiring you. So take as much time as you want. You could go quickly and then you're not overthinking it, or you could really spend a couple days to really think through these things. So I'm just going to write a whole list. Some of my examples, I just wrote summer, the smell of lemons and neroli, sunshine, moon phases, and then I'm going to put that onto the curiosity side. That's something I want to learn a little bit more about. Time with friends and family, intimate gatherings, fresh flowers, exploring. And if the words aren't coming easy, you can also create a mood board of things that you just are attracted to or curious about or that you like. And then you're going to start to pull images that really show you the things you're interested in in life. Being curious. I wrote field trips, relics and antiques, earthly elements, plants, handmade papers, animals, patterns, textiles. So these are just a few really quick things, top of mind. I'm not taking a lot of time. Just these things that are really kind of pulling towards me that I love. And, they can be everyday things or really deep things to you, really personal, but they don't have to be. They can be just your favorite song or something you're really enjoying. And the beauty of this list is that it's always going to change and evolve, just as you are as a person. So the things you love are also intertwined, I think, with the things you're curious about. So I'm going to move on to the curiosity list. And you can write why if you wanted to spend more time, if you really love writing. But I wrote about the lunar phases. I wrote expressive landscapes, cloud formations, experimenting, sunsets and sunrises, deep understanding of plants, bird watching. These are the things that I can really that I want to maybe possibly learn about. My ancestors. I can talk about just gardening. Maybe I want to know a little bit more about the flowers that are in my local area. And not only can we get curious about that in our life, but it also gives us prompts to paint. For instance, if I really was interested in Colorado flowers, I could sit there and draw and paint them, whether it be in life or from just some images from the internet. And it's a great way to really connect what we're curious about in life and bring that into our art. Because I think when we start to follow things we're curious about, we can really create artwork that resonates with us. We don't want to just paint a person that has no meaning. We want to put a deeper meaning behind it, or a textile or something that really you're drawn to or that you love. And it doesn't always have to make sense. You can see here I've printed images. There's sun, there's lemons, there's relics, there's feathers, there's mushrooms, there's shells, flower lockets. Art history was on my list. So kind of a sculpture that's kind of broken apart. I have the shell here, just kind of representing how we're all connected. So really connect to that imagery any way possible. Here are a few more images that I put of textiles, different flowers, and I just took these photos and then threw it into Canva onto an 8.5 by 11 and printed it on copy paper. Different patterns. I really love stone, and here's some malachite. I love wildflowers, and coming into summer, I'm getting a lot of citrus in there as well. So I'm going to speed this up, and what I'm going to do is just go ahead and cut out some of the images that I'm drawn to. Now, I'm not cutting right to the edge. I'm leaving a little bit of white border. I'm not worrying about, making it perfectly to the edge. So keep that in mind. I'm going to fast forward this, and then we'll take a look at some of the images that I pulled from my collage elements. Again, I pulled these from Pinterest and Unsplash, but you could absolutely find these in magazines as well. Now, I kind of have a theme to my color palette. It has this kind of bold black and white feel with this very feminine kind of coral pale pink. And I don't know, I just keep bringing out these kind of feminine elements with this stark contrast of this kind of bold black and white. So what I'm going to do is kind of lay them out, maybe lay some of the textiles and patterns in the way background, and just kind of move it around a little bit and see what I'm starting to like before I even start to glue it down. I love this kind of black and white tree. It kind of has that rooted feel. I do love this sculpture and how it's kind of cut off, almost like things could kind of grow out of it. This, spiritual kind of hand, the palm reading. I have a lot of kind of this otherworldly kind of feel with the clouds and the feathers and the butterflies, and then kind of that rootiness of the trees and the shells here. So I'm just taking a glue stick, just a regular old glue stick, and I'm going to glue some of these elements down to create just a fun collage. It's kind of representational of what I love and what I'm currently curious about. And it doesn't have to fully connect to everything on your list, but just pick a few images that you're drawn to and start to play around with it. Or maybe even you're drawn to them because of their color palettes as well. And when I glue it down, I'm kind of leaving a little bit of the edges lifted. That way I could slip things underneath. You want to think about things in the background as well as in foreground. So once I put something in the back, there's going to be things layered over it. So that's why I kind of use some of my kind of textures and design work in the background. And then coming in here with more of the elements over top. I love the idea of maybe having some flowers kind of growing out of her head. This could be, again, to me, it kind of has that relic art history kind of feel. But, it kind of has, it's half destroyed as well. So maybe a shift of the person, or, there can be a deeper meaning to it as well when you're creating these collages. But for now, I just want you to collect to collage work and kind of it's really helping you figure out how to lay out things and also to play with colors. So if I had a ton of different colors here, it would actually be very distracting. So you can see how my palette works and these images work because they all kind of stay in the same range of my color palette. Again, those black and whites, kind of some neutrals, and that blush pink and white to really kind of pulls the whole piece together. And everything that's on my tray really does have kind of those colors. But I wanted to make sure there's a lot of patterns, whether it's from the vase, the moth wings, the flowers, or the feather as well. And I love how these flowers are kind of coming out. Again, you can see I'm still kind of exploring different directions to go with the feather and just play around with it. And you can do a bunch of these as well. And they're so easy to do, to print on paper. And if you're not accessible to a printer, again, you can rip out things out of old magazines or newspapers as well. And I just think it's a fun way to really connect your creativity without needing a lot of supplies. Once I am done gluing down the elements I want, I'm going to come in with just a little bit of paint and my pens, but you could skip this step. If you don't have access to the paints or you don't have pens around or you just want it to be collage only, leave it as it is. But I think there's something really fun about coming over and kind of adding your paints. It also helps you to kind of paint over different elements and learn how to kind of paint flowers by just kind of tracing them over top of collage elements. I might play around with cutting the flower and then just having it kind of poke out in different areas here as well. Okay, I have my gouache paint here, and you could use craft paint, you could use watercolors, crayons, markers, anything you want. But I like the gouache paint because it comes in really fun colors and it also dries very quickly. So great for art journaling because you can add it in, and again, it dries very, very quickly onto the paper. I love this kind of dots that were on this vase. So I might kind of add them here at the bottom, just kind of add some patterning around or just kind of experimenting and playing with some of my art supplies with the collage. Again, if you just want to practice collage for a while, you can do it in your art journal or on a free piece of paper, like a mixed media piece of paper that's a little thicker. Or you can come in with some paints, markers, pencils, crayons, anything that you have around to add some kind of design aspect and make it your own. And I kind of realized that the color I picked, I thought it was a black, and it's more of a purple color. I want to come in right away with this kind of blush pink and bring it in a little bit more around the edges. I don't want to fill the entire thing. I still want to kind of have a rough edge around it, but I'm going to kind of come over these elements and kind of almost bind them or merge them with this paint and just kind of play around with adding some color into here and tying it all together and bringing kind of that feminine color of that light pink. If you aren't a fan of pink, you could absolutely bring in some blues or greens. And a lot of the imagery that you're going to pick is going to also inspire kind of the colors that you pull into here. And then you can see here, I'm taking this gouache and I'm painting right over the flower. It helps you to really connect on how to paint these elements. My dots were kind of still wet, so I'm going to have kind of a blend of the purples, and that's okay. I leave these kind of moments into my art lessons because I change my mind a lot as well as an artist. So I might need to wait for it to dry more, but I'm just going to put another layer of this pink right over it and just kind of blend it over here as well. So I covered up that area, and I might come over with more paint as it dries, but I have this really neat bright green, and for some reason I kind of want to bring that into here, coming up here at this season into kind of spring and summer, so bringing in that kind of vibe with the colors, but also it's in contrast to that pink color. I wanted to have kind of a cooler color that's a little bold. So I'm going to bring this yellowish green that's kind of neon here and bring it into her lips and various areas. Maybe bring it into every other line of the sun to kind of highlight this and just kind of play around with putting paint or any art material right on top of this collage. I love collage because it comes out different every time. It's playful, it's fun. You start to really think about patterns and design and how things can kind of lay out in a composition, which is very important in your art journals, your sketchbook, as well as in when you move into paintings or larger pieces or drawings. It helps you to kind of play around with composition, moving the elements around in an easy way, so that you can kind of get a better feel of balance and a little bit of perspective. And again, it's just a very, very playful, easy material to use. Okay, next I kind of have an orange color that's not much darker than this pink. It's kind of a coral color, and I'm going to actually add some dots and lines and patterns just here, instead of doing that dark black, I kind of want them a little bit more subtle. So using the inspiration from that vase and that patterning and just bringing in kind of some dots and some mark making here. Mark making is basically just adding different patterns and, bringing those elements into your artwork to make them have more texture and just be a little bit more interesting here. And then taking that same orangish color and then coming in various areas just to kind of have that painterly feel over my collage. My very last step, I could leave it as is, but I'm going to come in with some pen. I have some Micron pens, or a Sharpie is fine, and then a white gel pen. And I'm just going to add a little bit of marks. I'm, going to come over this feather area and just do a little bit of line work. Again, when you look really close, then you start to see kind of an artistic feel to these collages. Put little dots with my, and really highlight certain areas. I'm going to come in and, put little dots here in the center of my flower. You could even write over certain areas, bring in some of those words of things you're curious about or you love right here, or write other big words that are really calling to you as well. Another great thing you can do with collage, you could write down your dreams and then try to collage them, and even do some writing about what you felt or, what appeared in your dream. That's another great prompt, is to really connect to your dreams or a memory or even to your travels through these collage elements. So lots of different ways that you could experiment, but for this, I'm going to put curiosity here. Always stay curious, because, I think that really leads us to the things that we love in not only our life, but in our art practice. So keeping to follow our interests, and also being okay with the fact that our interests are constantly going to evolve and change as we are as people, humans, and artists.